What's going on, everybody? I am Grayson, and today we're going to be talking about Bad Boys. I think I mentioned it back when I was packing for my Blu-rays that I wanted to talk about the Bad Boys movies because I never watched them before. I've never seen them before. This is my first time doing so. For some reason, they've been culturally relevant for more than 20 years now. They had two movies in the early 2000s, and then they have two more that came in the 2020s, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. Usually when there's a resurgence in a franchise, it's a concurring thing, like Scream was throughout the few years in between the two franchises. But Bad Boys kind of just showed back up in the 2020s, and it got me curious when those movies were first released. But I hadn't seen them before, so I didn't really want to watch them until I saw the other ones. But so I sat down today, I watched Bad Boys 1, and I'm super confused. Not confused, more like interested in how this really got a following. Bad Boys is a buddy cop movie. It doesn't really do too much more with it. It's just a buddy cop movie with two cops who really do not know how to follow paperwork and don't know how to follow the law quite well. With Martin Lawrence and Will Smith playing those characters. And I'll say those two characters, when they work together and their dynamics really work really well. It gets better as the movie goes on. Early on in the movie, I really don't buy them as like long-term friends. I don't see that. But like towards the third act, and the third act is actually really, I think the movie really kicks off and really like finds its gear, finds its footing. Because in the third act, they actually feel genuinely like friends, and they feel like actual partners. Like they trust each other, and they have this working relationship with each other. But for the first two of those acts, they don't really feel like that. They feel kind of foreign. They kind of feel like they're not on the same page. They don't feel like they're friends in any type of way. First 2/3 of the movie, I'm just kind of here. I feel like I'm just wading water at this point in time. There's no like extra for me to dig into. And honestly, the first 2/3 of the movie, I wasn't really feeling it. I thought this movie was kind of okay at best. It felt like Men in Black without the whimsy of Men in Black. Again, it's another buddy cop movie that stars Will Smith, so maybe that's why. But that's what I got the feeling from. It was unwhimsy, sci-fi Men in Black, but when we get to the third act, they kind of set a tone for themselves, and they actually feel like an actual relationship, and that's the best part of this movie. It's a relationship between Martin Lawrence and Will Smith's characters. They work well together. They feel natural in that third act, and that's what I think the movie really hinges on, is that third act, that final finale of it. Because the first two feel very basic. They feel like a Lethal Weapon, a Rush Hour, or Men in Black. It feels like another buddy cop movie without the whimsy of those other movies, or without the comedy. Because I mean, there's some good jokes every so often, but again, the third act is really fleshes itself out. I say that genuinely. I kind of was bored for the first 2/3 of this movie. There was some good, moments, but I didn't really care for much of it because the movie didn't really feel like it made me care. And I really want to read the script for this movie. I really do. I think the script would be really interesting because I don't know how you script this movie. The drugs get taken from the cops, and now they have to go find the drugs, and there's a murder in between. I don't really understand where the plot comes in. It's a lot of moments and pieces, and it feels a lot of improv from Will Smith and Martin Lawrence, rather than an actual like fleshed out plot and moments where like it's planned. It doesn't feel like a planned movie. It feels like they wrote a page every day and they kind of just filmed it. But again, like I said, that third act is really fantastic. It's fun, it's energetic, it's funny, it's well paced. It's awesome. That third act is really what saved this movie from being like a bad movie. I think it's an okay movie. I don't think it's a great movie. I just don't think it's that fantastic. Like I don't realize where it gets 3 sequels, let alone one. Like I want to like Bad Boys 2. Like I mentioned in the Blu-rays thing, is like I think that's where the scene happens where Will Smith comes up with a Ku Klux Klan robe, and that's insane. But the movie doesn't really lean into the insanity of the idea or like what it's presenting. Because Will Smith and Martin Lawrence in a buddy cop movie should be kind of insane when you think about it. they work so well together, but like the insanity that they bring up in this movie, where they kill people regardless and they blow things up, it's a very active thing, and they're cops and they have to do a lot of paperwork, and they mention the paperwork, they mention the killing, and they mention that their asses are on the line, much like every cop movie does. But they mention these things, but they never there's no repercussions for their actions, for killing, for blowing things up, for anything besides them being reassigned. But they say, oh, we're gonna go rogue, like every cop movie does, to actually figure out the case and get the bad guy and stop the crime, because the politics of IA and politics of the police department forbid them from actually doing their jobs properly when they're outright killing people and blowing things up. Like that's the thing. Is like they mention the consequences, but the consequences never happen because of who they are and what they're doing. That they get the bad guy at the end. It's hard for me to root for guys when they mention things and they don't understand the repercussions of their actions. Honestly, the only repercussions that really happen are to Martin Lawrence's character, because of the situation of him having to be Mike Lowrey for a majority of this movie, because he's trying to not fool the witness, but try to gain her trust, because Mike Lowrey was doing whatever the fuck he was doing. That's the only repercussion that really happens, because he is in a hotel room, not a hotel room, he is in Mike Lowrey's house, but he is in a different place with a woman that's not his wife, and there's a tension there already between the two, because they're husband and wife, and they've had kids so often that they don't have time to themselves anymore, and it's a friction point for that character. And honestly, Martin Lawrence's character is more of a main character than Will Smith's Mike Lowrey, even though Mike Lowrey is a lot more iconic. Don't know why. We'll see if I watch a lot of the movies. There's that friction point, and that's the only really consequence that really happens in this movie, is his marriage is kind of on the line when it comes to the situation, because there's an attractive woman that he has to spend time with, and he has to act like he's that brunette. Like, he has to be someone else, and that leans into the ideas of infidelity and stuff like that. So that's an interesting idea they present, and I think they do it really well with Martin Lawrence's character, and it's a really fun plot point, but I don't think it's fully committed to, because I think it's better suited for a sequel, because we don't know who Mike Lowrey is for majority of this movie, besides that he is a playboy rich cop, which is a nice dynamic switch from Martin Lawrence's fatherly, played by the book cop. So it's that friction point between the two, but we don't understand Mike Lowrey and Martin Lawrence's dynamic until later in the movie. I think it would be better suited for a sequel, that they swap positions, and that's a fun idea. And honestly, this feels like a TV show. Like, if this was a TV show and we had a half season to get used to the two characters and their dynamic and their relationship with each other, it would feel better than having to spend half this movie trying to figure out what the relationship is while he's impersonating Will Smith. And I don't know. It feels like a weird plot point to have for the first movie, and we don't know the characters that well enough, or are connected to the characters well enough to figure out why this is funny. Is it probably funnier in retrospect when you watch the other movies? Probably. But in the end, I don't really think it works here, because it's the first movie, and because we haven't spent time with Mike Lowrey, because we haven't spent time with Martin Lawrence's character. It's that point of it's the problem when it comes with character development, is that you can't use certain elements that you may want to use, like swapping places or impersonating one another, because we don't know those characters just yet. But I like the movie well enough. It's an okay movie. The cinematography is nice, even 25 years later. It looks well. It just has that weird orange lighting that Miami always somehow has. And it makes the movie kind of look gross, but it makes it feel hot, so it works. But I don't like it personally. I don't think you need to have these orange and blues, as well as they work together. You don't need that to be your whole thing for the movie. You just make a movie and don't have it be so just one or two colors. Make the movie pop out a little more than just being these weird shades. Generally, I don't know how this got such a cult following, or not even cult following, how it got such a following with a movie that's so basic. It doesn't do anything unique with its source material, or it doesn't do anything unique with the idea of a buddy cop film. It doesn't do anything different besides it's Will Smith and Martin Lawrence. which again, I like them as a combo. They work really well together. It just, they don't do anything different with it. And I get watching like movies like Rush Hour, where it's, you know, at least the dynamics a little bit different, or Lethal Weapon, where that's one of the original buddy cop comedies. It like you those movies are different. They set themselves differently. Or Men in Black, they set themselves apart in a way where I don't feel like Bad Boys doesn't enough. They don't feel like it's enough. And again, I feel like the later movies are what people remember, or Bad Boys 2 is what they remember, or Bad Boys 3, or like they remember other things from the other movies that make this movie so much better, like in retrospect. And again, I don't have the context of those other films to be like, yes, this movie is better in retrospect because we know the dynamics between those two, and that might work a little bit better after watching these movies. I don't know, because I haven't seen those movies, and I feel like I'm missing something here, because again, it's well rated, I believe. 6.8 out of 10 on IMDb. That's pretty nice. Like, that's not a bad rating at all. I know it made fucking money. I know it made fucking bank. Yeah, okay, so it made $144 million worldwide after a nearly $20 million budget. Like, that's not nothing. That's 7 times your budget, and that makes... it makes sense why the sequel got made. I just don't know, like, why it got made after, like, you know, such like a normal movie. It doesn't differentiate itself enough, and I think that's my problem. That's my hang up with this movie, is it doesn't differentiate itself from other buddy cop movies, or make itself stand out in any significant way. Besides, we have Will Smith and we have Martin Lawrence, and I just generally, I don't like that. I think I need more from them to justify another movie if I was in an executive chair. Like, I need more from Martin Lawrence and Will Smith, you know. But yeah, that's my thoughts on Bad Boys. It's an okay movie. I just really think of it being the super spectacular thing that everyone goes on about. When I say I haven't seen Bad Boys, people are like, you haven't seen Bad Boys? What do you mean? And like, I watch it and I'm like, okay, this is generic. This is not something that I've seen this before, genuinely. But next week, I think I'm going to go back to Resident Evil for a little bit. We're going to talk about a little bit about those movies. But until then, remember to like, subscribe, do whatever. And I'll see you guys then. Bye-bye.